Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler. Tonight I am going to be showing you shorter range weather outlook, including Halloween, and then we're going to move a little bit into the longer range and show you what we're looking at down the range a little bit longer out in the extended outlook. And then we'll also take a look tonight. We'll take a look at some of the winter factors, and I'll do a quick update on some of those winter considerations or factors for the forecast upcoming for the winter season, December, January, and February. Thought this was an appropriate picture tonight. Really cool looking. Grabbed another pumpkin photo, and really cool faces on these particular pumpkins. And I just remember growing up, there was nothing quite like having the light of the pumpkin. After you get done carving it, just lighting that pumpkin up for the first time and seeing it in the dark really was cool. So let's go ahead and get going and get started on what's to come here on the forecast here at Spot On Weather. So I'm going to start things off tonight by looking at the October 2019 temperature anomalies to date. The graphic on the left shows the high temperature anomalies, and the graph on the right shows the low temperature anomalies. And a very common theme, if you notice in both images here, would be the reds and the orangish colors across the eastern United States. Basically, east of the Mississippi River has been above normal, whether we're talking about the daytime high temperatures on the left or the overnight low temperatures on the right. The coolest colors are represented by the blues as well as by the green and purple shadings. And you can definitely see west of the Mississippi River the coldest air, with the absolute coldest portion of the air generally over the northern plains, the Dakotas into Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, parts of Washington, Oregon. So this is basically what we're looking at through the 26th of October. This was through this is 1 to 26 October and the anomalies so far for the month of October. Of course, we'll be closing the month out here within a few days. Let's take a look now at some of the charts for tonight's video. And I'm sticking with the thickness chart on the left-hand image of each graphic, of each slide. And generally that image on the left shows areas of precipitation, with green indicating the rain, the yellow colors indicating the heaviest rain, and the blue is indicating the snow. I'm also showing you on the thickness chart on the left of each slide throughout this video presentation the general thickness lines, which are the dash lines. The red color thickness lines are generally the warmer values of thickness, and the blue dash lines represent the colder values or the lower values of thickness. Now, the warmer colors, the red dash lines, and the higher thicknesses usually represent the warmest temperatures, while the blue dash lines represent the lowest thicknesses and the coldest temperatures. I also show you surface pressure features images on the left. Area of low pressure represented by a red L, and an area of high pressure represented by a blue H. The image on the right for each of the slides of the video tonight is going to represent the 500 millibar or 18,000 foot height anomalies, with the bluer shading represent the lower than normal heights, and the pinkish color, maroon pinkish color, representing the higher than normal heights. And generally in the atmosphere, the lower the heights, the colder the temperatures, the higher the heights, the warmer the temperatures. So the cooler temperatures, the blue shading, the lowest heights are represented with the coolest temperatures and usually associated with upper level troughs, while the maroon and the pinkish colors generally indicate above normal heights, warmest temperatures, and are typically associated with a ridge. So that's what I'm going to go over. I'm going to use these particular graphics tonight, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. So starting off with the current analysis today on the 27th of October 2019, we have an area of low pressure just to the north of Lake Huron, moving into southeastern Canada with a frontal boundary draped along the eastern seaboard. A lot of green on the map indicating showers. Now, here in southeast Virginia, Sunday afternoon, this afternoon, we saw a brief downpour, generally just after 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time today. There was a green, just a quick, heavy-hitting downpour. I got about a third of an inch of rain here at Spot On Weather, and so this just because it shows green doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an all-day rain or soaking event, rain soaking event. Generally today, though, we have that frontal boundary that's moving across the east coast, pushing off the coast. Skies have cleared out after sunset this evening, so definitely starting to dry out as we have an area of higher pressure over the mid-south, generally building in from the west. The country as a whole is fairly dry once you get to about West Virginia, down into Georgia, and you work your way westward. There is some snow showers with upslope flow, more of a northeasterly flow, moving up against the mountains out over Wyoming into northern parts of Colorado and into parts of Utah, which is basically resulting in rising air motion and snow. But overall, fairly quiet across the country as a whole as of today, the 27th of October. Image on the right shows where there's an upper level trough, where that trough is located with the blue colors, generally across the western United States. So that's where your chilliest temperatures and lowest thickness values are residing right now. And we do have a ridge that has basically moved up the east coast, poked its head up northward along the east coast, represented by the pink and salmon colors. So a little bit warmer than normal today for sure. We got into the 70s today across southeast Virginia, which is above today's normal high temperature of 67 degrees. Moving ahead now to Monday the 28th of October. What can you expect to start your work week? Fairly quiet across the country as a whole. Southeast Virginia, we're expecting high pressure building in. We're expecting lots of sunshine and a very pleasant fall day with highs in the upper 60s to close to 70 degrees tomorrow across Southeast Virginia. We're working our way westward. We have a developing area of low pressure at 1,003 millibars situated over parts of New Mexico. And we have upslope flow, in other words, the east-northeasterly wind component up against the Rocky Mountains there in eastern Colorado, resulting in that blue color snowfall. So places like Denver can expect to see some snowfall over the next 24 hours for sure with the upslope winds. Generally across the eastern United States as a whole, it is remaining slightly above normal, and the coldest temperatures associated with the trough are located over the Rocky Mountain states up through Colorado, Wyoming, and even to the northern plain states of Montana and to the parts of the Dakotas, while the warmest temperatures you see on the right associated with upper level ridge along the eastern seaboard up into New England. Moving ahead now to Tuesday, the forecast for Tuesday, the 29th of October, we see a little bit of rain shower activity moving in off the Gulf of Mexico. So parts of Georgia into parts of the Florida Panhandle, northern Florida, we'll see rain on Tuesday. And then we have a frontal boundary that is basically situated across Illinois into parts of Missouri, southeastern Kansas. And we have colder temperatures to the northwest of that cold front. We have snow occurring across parts of the mountainous areas of Colorado once again, as well as into parts of southern Wyoming for Tuesday. Fairly dry along the west coast of the United States on Tuesday. And then the image on the right shows those height anomalies again, with the lower than normal height anomalies over with association with the upper level trough over parts of the Utah, Wyoming, northern plain states. That's where the core of the coldest air is remaining. A good 1,042 millibar high situated over Montana is just directing in cold air from Canada on northwest winds, while the east coast again remains fairly mild as there's an upper level ridge. The southeast ridge is generally situated along the southeast coast, poking its head up northward into New England. Moving ahead now to midweek forecast, October 30th, and we're getting closer to Halloween. Yes, we are by that point. The 30th of October, we see a storm system starting to take shape across the southern plains. And now we're starting to see some ingredients come together by Wednesday. We have a lot of green on the map now, working its way, a lot of rain working its way from East Texas, Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, West Tennessee, up into Missouri, and parts of southern Illinois and northern Indiana. So if you're heading that way, have travel plans, you may run into some delays at some of the airports due to the precipitation. Further west, basically from central Missouri, northwestward, into parts of Kansas and northern Oklahoma, snow begins to fall in the colder air as the upper level trough works its way generally to the east at that point in time. So we see a trough that's working its way southward into the Rocky states, Rocky Mountain states once again. And we have that persistent southeast ridge still keeping the cold air to the west by Wednesday with above normal heights and mild temperatures across the eastern seaboard. Now, what about Halloween? What are we looking at for Halloween? So I made my last video last Wednesday. At that point in time, it looked like the cold air would make it all the way beyond the East Coast into the Western Atlantic. The cold front would sweep through with high pressure building in for Halloween. But now, unfortunately, the atmosphere is slowed down with the cold air progression. And what we're looking at is a good chance of showers now for Halloween across southeastern Virginia. So we are looking at some wet weather. And we don't want wet weather, right? It's not the best not the best weather for a witch, of course. So there probably won't be any witches out there flying on broomsticks on Halloween night, not with that wet weather in the area. But we'll have spookily scattered showers and strong south-southwest winds for southeastern Virginia for Halloween night, for all your trick-or-treating activities. Now, we do not expect an all-day rain event. We're expecting periods of showers. That's the way it looks right now. We have an area of low pressure situated over southwestern Ohio. And generally, we have a cold front stretching southwest, basically southwest along that or outside of that low pressure system. So we do have high temperatures in the middle to upper 70s for southeastern Virginia for Halloween. We do expect low temperatures in the lower 60s. So get ready for that. Look at that little pumpkin there in the lower right-hand corner. If you're traveling west of the Mississippi River, well, first of all, if you're going to be trick-or-treating in eastern Iowa, look out. There's some snow out there by that blue shading. So there might be a white Halloween for all your trick-or-treaters, parts of eastern Iowa and the parts of northeastern Missouri. Dry across much of the nation. And once you get west of the Missouri River into the plains and as well back into the Rockies by Halloween, and the west coast looks great for trick-or-treating. Moving ahead now, as we move into the 1st of November, we turn the calendar, can you believe it, all the way into the month of November. And by this point in time, the area of low pressure that was over Ohio is now raced off to the Canadian maritime area. And generally, we have a cold front that is clearing the East Coast, clearing southeast Virginia by Friday, November 1st. And so what we're expecting is some morning showers briefly on Friday, but then we'll be clearing out as a strong high pressure system builds in from the northwest, and we get a little bit of colder air into southeastern Virginia. Generally, the height anomalies on the right indicate the blue shading. So we have a trough that has slowly progressed its way eastward throughout the week. First starting out in the Rocky Mountain states, by Friday it is now centered over the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley. That will eventually knock that heat ridge, the upper level ridge off the southeast coast. It will eventually flatten that ridge out, and we get more of a northwesterly upper level flow, which is going to result in cooler temperatures. What about next weekend? It's never too early to start thinking of the weekend, of course. And next Saturday, the 2nd of November, we are looking at some colder temperatures in the mid-Atlantic as we have that strong 1031 millibar high over Oklahoma and strong northerly winds, a fairly decent pressure gradient out ahead of that high pressure system. So we got northerly winds and northwesterly winds advecting or blowing in lower thickness values across the mid-Atlantic into southeast Virginia. We have that trough that is slowly again moving east. We got a ridge now. There's an upper level ridge building into the western U.S. with a downstream trough from the midwestern U.S. into the mid-Atlantic and New England states. So we do expect a cool down in temperatures. Looks like it's going to occur after Halloween, however, starting next Saturday, especially into Sunday, November 3rd. The core of the coolest air is now moving generally to the east. So you can see the blue shading, the trough, upper level trough is now moving into the mid-Atlantic states, and the lower thickness values are now down across the mid-Atlantic. So we do expect quite a chilly day next Sunday, November 3rd. So here's my 7-day outlook, and this graphic is courtesy of Metro Weather Watch. You're going to probably see these little messages popping up in the lower right-hand corner, which I'm closing out as soon as they pop up. So there's a little bit of a meteorology discussion going on while I'm doing the forecast. And there's another one. Anyway, I'll keep killing those so you can see my slides. But anyway, this is our 7-day outlook for the Hampton Roads cities of Virginia. What we're looking at tomorrow to start your work week, looking wonderful, mostly sunny with a high of 71 degrees. Boy, that's going to be a beautiful fall day out there. Overnight lows tomorrow night dropping into about 58 degrees. Then we've got Tuesday where we have partly sunny skies, where we're going to have a high temperature, not much different from Monday at a high of 72. Overnight lows again dropping to the upper 50s, 57 by Wednesday morning. And then the clouds begin to increase on Wednesday as high pressure moves off the coast and the winds become more off the water. They start coming in more off the water by that point. So you'll see mostly cloudy conditions with a high of 69 on Wednesday across southeast Virginia. And then the low temperature is not going to drop a whole lot that night as some of the moisture starts to increase in the low levels of the atmosphere, only dropping to a low of 63 by Thursday morning. And there's our pumpkin for Thursday, mostly cloudy with scattered showers. Again, we're not expecting an all-day rain event. In fact, some of the model guidance is indicating the heaviest rain may hold off until Friday, November 1st with the frontal passage. So it's possible that this forecast could change and we could see a drier situation for Halloween on Thursday. I had to throw that little pumpkin graphic in there for Thursday. High of 76 though. It's going to be unseasonably mild for Halloween across southeast Virginia. And from year to year, the Halloween weather does vary. One year might be cooler, and the next year might be warmer again. So it looks pretty mild right now, up in the upper 70s for a high temperature in the afternoon, dropping to a low of 64 overnight. And then Friday, we expect mostly cloudy with scattered showers, a high of 75 as some moisture lingers in the vicinity of the frontal boundary on Friday. But look at the overnight lows Friday night, down to 53 degrees. So yes, back to the chilly fall air after the front moves through. And the next weekend, as of right now, looks gorgeous, mostly sunny both Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the low to mid 60s with overnight lows in the upper 40s. So get ready, fall will return. It was kind of a muggier day today on Sunday. On Sunday, the 27th of October, you can feel the humidity increase for sure. Looking a little bit longer range now, longer range outlook for both 4 and 5 November 2019. The latest guidance is showing some slightly below normal temperatures and dry conditions across southeastern Virginia for the 4th and 5th of November, a little bit further down the road. We do have generally an upper level trough across the eastern United States, and there's a ridge, upper level ridge across the western U.S. But overall, it's looking fairly dry across much of the country as well for 4 and 5 November. And then looking at some of the longer range models, the climate forecast system, the CFS, I just wanted to show you this, is indicating below normal temperatures to start November. Generally, these two graphics cover the period from 2 to 16 November. The blue shading indicating below normal temperatures in degrees in degrees Celsius actually. And then the green and the purple shadings indicate much below normal temperatures. So blue shadings below normal, but then the green and the purple shadings indicate the greatest below normal departures. So across much of the United States, the climate forecast system, at least for the first couple weeks of November, is indicating colder than normal temperatures. Here's the latest Climate Prediction Center outlook, the NOAA Climate Prediction Center, and generally these two graphics cover the 2nd to the 10th of November. So the graphic on the left shows temperature departures from normal from November 2nd to the 6th. And there's a big area of blue shading below normal temperatures, highest probability of below normal temperatures from the Midwest on down into parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, eastern Texas, while there's above normal temperatures, higher probability of above normal temps across Alaska, as well as parts of California, north and central California. And then the image on the right shows a period from 4 to 10 November, and you can see a little bit of the warmth trying to creep up the east coast and the mid-Atlantic, southeast coast and into the mid-Atlantic in association with a ridge again. And that's really, I'm telling you, I'm really watching that southeast ridge and see what happens. That one's a tough one to break down sometimes in the winter, I'll tell you. And you might get a little area of above normal temperatures right up from the southeast, from Florida up into Virginia. I've seen it happen quite a bit the last couple winters. But in general, this shows you what the Climate Prediction Center has forecasting for the longer range as well. Now, The CFS continues to indicate below normal temperatures even beyond early to mid-November, even into late November. The blue shading again indicates below normal temperatures, while the orangish and the red shadings indicate above normal temperatures. So you can see CFS is indicating very cool temperatures. That would indicate to me, by just looking at the departures, that there's a trough across the Midwest into the eastern U.S. and a ridge across the western U.S. So just something to keep a close eye on. I mentioned this in my last video that CFS has a tendency to be warm, has a warm bias. This is the CFS November and December outlook now, based off the latest model run at 00Z on the 27th of October. And the blue shading again indicates below normal temperatures, while the orange and the red colors indicate above normal temperatures. So you can see in the month of November is on the left, the month of December is on the right. Looks like CFS is seeing a colder November temperature-wise, below normal across the east and above normal out west. And then you look at December on the right, and things kind of warm up a little bit up the eastern seaboard, and there's a lot more warmth across the Midwest as well in December. Now, of course, these flip-flop all the time, so don't get too excited or to get too hung up on these particular graphics for November and December. This is just long-range guidance. And looking at seasonal forecasting, it can be quite challenging. And so these models will go back and forth quite a bit. And so we'll keep you updated on the latest trends here at Spot On Weather. Here's the CFS even looking a little bit longer. I just want to show this. This is the CFS January and February outlook, January on the left and February on the right. And we have slightly above normal temperatures across Southeast Virginia for January, near normal temperatures across the Midwest, Upper Plain states, and then we move into February on the right, and you can see the height lines are dipping a little further across the eastern U.S. and the Mid-Atlantic by February, according to the latest CFS run. These are height anomalies, once again, at 500 millibars or 18,000 feet. Blue shading is generally associated with the lowest heights. The salmon color there indicates the above normal heights, the highest heights. Generally, troughing develops for February according to the latest CFS model run. Just something to look at, and again, this will change, no doubt. Here are some of the teleconnections. Here's the latest teleconnections forecasts. What we like to look at is Spot On Weather, and you may have heard of other weather professionals also referring to the AO Arctic Oscillation, as well as the NAO North Atlantic Oscillation. The latest AO Arctic Oscillation forecast is on the left, indicating slightly negative conditions as we go into the last week of October into the beginning of November. And so it's not a very drastic negative phase of the AO. The image on the right shows a North Atlantic oscillation. And again, similar to the AO, it shows a slightly negative phase the last couple days of October into the first few days of November. So it's just something to keep an eye on as far as the trends of the teleconnections. Generally, the more sharply negative both the AO and NAO are, the greater the likelihood of a trough across the eastern United States and colder than normal weather across the east. The Pacific North American teleconnection forecast, the PNA, again, I left this up there from the last video. If you have a positive PNA, that generally means you have an upper level trough in the eastern U.S. and a upper level ridge across the western U.S. If you have a negative PNA, you get a reverse pattern, flip-flop, where you get a trough in the western U.S. and a ridge in the eastern U.S. So looking at the latest forecast for the PNA, it's showing a positive value, a positive PNA, generally the last week of October on into the very beginning, the first few days of November. Then it flip-flops and goes negative. The PNA goes negative right around the 4th of November through like the 10th. So it's just going to be something interesting to watch and see. The Madden-Julian oscillation forecast, remember, whatever happens in the Pacific has a huge role on our winter weather, especially as we get closer to the months of November and then December. In general, the forecast, this is the latest ensemble forecasting. The yellow lines represent different ensemble members. The green line represents the average of the ensembles. Generally shows the MJO going from a weak phase 3 into almost a null phase where it's very weak and there's really no areas that are favored in the MJO forecast as we head out over the next 10 days. This goes out to 10 November. So really, there's no like significant magnitudes or amplification to certain phases of MJO, at least not in the latest forecast. I did change the image, the graphic on the right there. I'm showing you now temperature composites for the months of November, December, and January. So if you look at November, December, and January and the MJO phases, generally phase 7 favors a very cold United States from the Midwest over to the East Coast. Phase 8, also very cold, with the coldest air from the Mississippi River east to the East Coast. Phase 1 is also a cold phase of the MJO as well, especially across the northern U.S. And then things get milder in phases 3, 4, 5, and 6. If there's any type of magnitude or amplification of the MJO into phases, especially phases 5 and 6 in the months of November, December, and January, that generally favors milder temperatures across the eastern United States. So just another teleconnection we need to keep an eye on, and I wanted to show you the latest forecast. And then we kind of get in that discussion again of what my weighted factors are for the upcoming winter forecast. Look at the low solar activity as well as the above normal water temperatures across the northeastern Pacific Ocean. Now these again are big factors for the jet stream configuration, where those troughs and those ridges set up, which are so very important as far as storm tracks, as well as where the coldest and warmest air actually is located, as well as the NAO and AO phases. Now, those, I tell you, the low solar, these two, and above normal water temps, I'm going to keep a very, very close eye on this. These are two of my weighted factors for the winter forecast. And if you haven't taken a look at my winter weather forecast yet, please do so, and I go into much further in-depth explanation on these. But there's the image on the left showing the solar cycle 25, and it just generally shows you, the red line shows you the major drop-off in the number of sunspots. Sunspot activity is associated with solar activity, so when the sun is way more active, you get a lot more sunspot numbers. The sun's activity decreases with lower sunspot numbers, and you can see that red line and how it crashes as we head into 2020, all the way down to a solar minimum to begin cycle 25. And eventually that is forecast to rebound up around the years 2024 to 2025. The number of sunspots again look to rebound over 100. So just real interesting how low the solar sunspots are, the solar activity and the sunspots in general. I did take a look at another local area forecast, and I was really curious. You know, they really put heavy emphasis on the solar cycle as well. In fact, they talked about the 2009-10 winter and how the solar activity was so low back then as well. And you can see on the graphic on the left, the red line, how low the solar activity was in 2009-2010 timeframe. That really was a interesting winter across the mid-Atlantic and eastern U.S. The image on the right shows the latest sea surface temperature anomalies in degrees Celsius, and the blue colors indicate below normal sea surface temperatures based on climatology for this time of year. And then the orangish colors indicate above normal sea surface temperatures for this time of year. Look at that pool of red just across the northeastern Pacific Ocean. And, you know, that is going to be interesting to see how that may affect the configuration of the jet stream, where the upper level ridge sets up across the eastern Pacific, and then where that downstream trough sets up. Right now, we're looking at the ridge being a little further out into the further part of the just west of the Gulf of Alaska, and a downstream trough is forecast to remain across, well, for a considerable amount of time in the short term, across the western U.S. and in the northern plains. And we know where the trough has been so far based on the October temperature anomalies. If you go back to this real quick, our temperature anomalies for October right there. I mean, the green and the purple shadings show where that trough's located. And generally, that's the coolest temperatures associated with that trough. And that is associated with those warmest temperatures there, further off the west coast, and that trough over the western U.S. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and we'll keep a close eye on those sea surface temperature anomalies as well as the solar activity. All right, so my final thoughts in tonight's video: it's going to be a great looking autumn weather to start the work week, both Monday, tomorrow, and Tuesday. We do expect lots of sunshine, a few more clouds on Tuesday, We do expect high temperatures in the upper 60s and lower 70s and overnight lows into the 50s. So it's going to be a gorgeous weather pattern the next couple days. Hopefully we can get this type of gorgeous weather pattern to set in for this next weekend as well, when most folks are off work. Temperatures will be recovering. They'll be rebounding on Thursday and Friday with highs into the middle to upper 70s. So get ready for all you summer fans. We're going to be in that period where, one day I got the summer weather nuts happy. The other day I might have some winter weather fanatics just happy too. So we are expecting showers on Halloween, but only expecting scattered showers or periods of showers. Most of the heaviest rain may hold off actually until Friday. So that's something that hopefully will occur, and there'll be dry trick-or-treating hours on Thursday night. High pressure will then build in after the rain on Friday. High pressure builds back in for the first weekend of November with cooler temperatures. We expect highs in the 60s and lows in the upper 40s and lower 50s next Saturday and Sunday. Gorgeous beginning to this month of November. And then the climate forecast system, the CFS, is projecting a colder November, while the European model, I didn't show you the European tonight, but it hasn't changed a whole lot from my last video. The European model is projecting a milder November. So just we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, time will tell on which of the climate models is performing the best. And then that low solar activity and above normal water temperatures across the Northeast Pacific, wow, that is going to play a large role in this winter's weather, especially in regards to that jet stream configuration. And again, remember, the low solar activity, research has indicated that typically leads to a negative AO, Arctic Oscillation, and a negative NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, and favors a higher or greater frequency of high latitude blocking. So again, we're keeping a close eye on that. And again, there's just my Spot On Weather official winter forecast. This is what we believe will happen for the upcoming winter for the Hampton Road cities, Southeast Virginia. Below normal temperatures with near normal precip, and average snowfall for the winter around 7 inches. And again, I will be releasing a winter forecast update. I'll keep you guys posted in social media. That will be released in November, and I think in a couple of weeks or so, I really should be able to have a higher confidence level with the upcoming winter forecast. Here's how to find us on social media. This is where we're at. I just released the latest 7-day outlook also over on social media on Facebook and Twitter earlier this afternoon for the upcoming week. So there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, as well as our website. It's at Weebly.com. And, I'm going to try to my best, like I mentioned in the last video, to keep updating that website. Hopefully I can get into that and keep updating that. All right, that wraps things up tonight. Spot On Weather. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for letting us help you decide when's the best time to do what you're going to do because of the weather. We really, really have a passion for weather. We love it, and I certainly hope you enjoy my videos. All right, that wraps things up. Spot On Weather. If we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Take care, everybody. Have a great Sunday evening and an even better week ahead. Take care.